You are watching South Asia Newsline and have the top stories we are tracking for you on Friday, the 2nd of June. Jaishankar calls for change in world order at BRICS foreign ministers meet. Pakistani human rights activist Jibran Nasir abducted in Karachi. And Sri Lanka's president says crisis-hit economy on path to recovery. And now for all the details. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar called on BRICS nations on Thursday to take resolute measures against terrorism, including its financing and propaganda. The remarks came during the meeting of the foreign ministers of the diplomatic bloc in Cape Town. Jaishankar said the grouping needs to send out a strong message that the world is multipolar and that old ways cannot address new situations. He called the BRICS a symbol of change and said the bloc needs to act accordingly. In a veiled reference to China, Jaishankar said one of the key problems that nations face is economic concentration that leaves too many nations at the mercy of too few. He urged the grouping to promote the economic decentralization, calling it an essential part of political democratization.
The global environment today demands that we, the BRICS nations, approach key contemporary issues seriously, constructively, and collectively. Our gathering must send out a strong message that the world is multipolar, that it is rebalancing, and that old ways cannot address new situations. We are a symbol of change and must act accordingly.
Top financial minds have hailed India's astonishing GDP growth that accelerated to 6.1% in the last quarter of the previous fiscal, higher than what economists had expected, confirming that the country remains one of the fastest growing emerging economies. The government now further estimates the overall growth rate of this year to be 7.2%.
All the polling that had been done by the economists also said 5.1%, but we have exceeded 6%. What does it mean? It means the Indians are very hardworking. Given an opportunity, they are roaring to grow, and that's exactly what the figures show.
Earlier this week, US-based investment banking company Morgan Stanley also said that India under PM Modi has transformed, gaining a position in the world order and becoming a key driver for Asia and global growth.
But the most important thing about the GDP numbers is it shows that in a gloomy global environment where most large economies are not growing very fast, India is doing well.
Prominent Pakistani human rights activist and lawyer Jibran Nasir was abducted late on Thursday night in the southern city of Karachi. Local media reports have suggested, prompting widespread outcry across the country. No law enforcement agency had confirmed that Nasir is in their custody, but abduction claimed by his wife comes as the country is mired in a fresh bout of political turmoil. Nasir, who contested the 2018 elections as an independent candidate, has been an outspoken critic of multiple human rights violations in the country and often represented victims as a lawyer. Lately, he had criticized the mass arrest of leaders from former PM Imran Khan's party and the move to try them in military courts following violent protests earlier this month. Several hours of gas load shedding and power cuts have made life miserable in Pakistan's Karachi. Despite this, the hefty bills have become a nightmare for many. A report.
The unannounced gas load shedding and prolonged power cuts in Pakistan's financial capital Karachi has left the residents frustrated and angry. Almost every locality witnesses load shedding during peak hours, and despite this, they're getting hefty bills, which are adding to their woes. The soaring prices of every other commodity has already shaken budgets.
अब पहले 250 आता था, अब जो है ना 500-600 आता है, लेकिन लाइट और बिजली और गैस बिल्कुल नहीं आती है। मर्जी के मालिक है, जब चाहे खोल देते हैं, जब चाहे बंद कर देते हैं। बच्चे सुबह नाश्ते के लिए तरसते रहते हैं, बाजार से बच्चों को लाके नाश्ता देना पड़ता है। गैस की ये परेशानी हो रही है और बिजली का ये है कि 24 घंटे में 18 घंटे लोड शेडिंग होती है।
लेकिन हुकूमत सबके लिए बेकार है। तो गरीब वैसे ही मर रहे हैं, तुम और मार दो। ना गैस के होने की सूरत में, कि ना खाने को मिल रहा है ना पीने को मिल रहा है। कब तक एक इंसान कमाने वाला बिल भरे, होटलों पे तवज्जो दे, होटलों से खाना लेकर आए, बच्चे ना स्कूल खाने का ऑफिस जा रहे हैं, जब खाना नहीं है ऑफिस से आ रहे हैं, जब खाना नहीं है।
Pakistan mostly meets its energy demands through imported and indigenous resources. But a drop in commodities reserves and foreign exchange has left the government unable to meet demands.
One of Australia's most decorated living soldiers on Thursday lost a defamation lawsuit against 3 newspapers which accused him of involvement in the unlawful killings of 6 Afghans during his deployment to Afghanistan. Ben Robert Smith denied the allegation and had sued the newspapers in response. The newspapers successfully established that their reports were true in relation to most of the defamatory imputations that the soldier complained about, a federal court judge said in Sydney, ending a case which put the secretive wartime conduct of elite SAS troops on rare public display. Taliban spokesperson Bilal Karimi said the incidents involved in the Australian case were a small part of the many alleged crimes that took place during the war, adding that they did not trust any court globally to follow them up. Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe has said that the island nation's economy is on the road of recovery. He said everyone is benefiting from the results of the patient, committed and focused policies, and the inflation that rose to 70% has reduced to 25.2%. In a sign of confidence that the worst financial crisis is over, Sri Lanka's central bank on Thursday surprised markets by cutting interest rates for the first time in 3 years. The president also said the country's target is to be fully developed by 2048.
ලංකාවේ වෙළඳ පිළිවෙත් සකස් වී ඇත්තේ දැඩි ආරක්ෂණවාදී වැටකඩලු ඔස්සේයි. දැන් මේ සියල්ල නිදහස් කිරීමට සුදුසු කාලයයි. බොහෝ පිළිවෙත් සකස් වී ඇත්තේ ආයෝජකයන් අධෛර්යයට පත් කිරීමටයි.
The South Asian island nation plunged into crisis last year as its foreign exchange reserves ran out, food and energy prices spiraled, and protesting mobs forced the ouster of the country's then president. Wickremesinghe took the reins in July and negotiated a $2.9 billion bailout from the IMF in March. Nepal's Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal on Friday arrived in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh as part of his 4-day official visit to India. Dahal paid obeisance at the holy Hindu shrine of Mahakaleshwar in Ujjain before returning to Indore. He later visited solid waste management plant in the city and held discussions with the local authorities about the cleanliness drive of Indore. The central Indian city has been ranked first in the country for 6 consecutive years for cleanliness. He was also scheduled to meet Governor Mangubhai Patel before returning back to Kathmandu. Dahal's visit to India was part of tradition of new Nepali leaders making their first foreign stop in India after assuming office, underlining the strong ties between the neighbors.
और भारत दोनों अत्यंत प्राचीन और महान राष्ट्र हैं। कई बार लगता शरीर दो है, लेकिन संस्कृति, सभ्यता और संस्कार एक है। उसी भाव से आज मां अहिल्या की इस पवित्र नगरी में, मध्य प्रदेश में, इंदौर में, आज नेपाल के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का हमने मध्य प्रदेश की गौरवशाली परंपराओं के अनुरूप हृदय से स्वागत किया है।
That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time next week. Have a great weekend. Good night.